Welcome back in, everybody, to Sports Profit TV. If you're watching on Twitter or YouTube, welcome in. Welcome in. All right. So, first of all, let's go ahead and recap last week's release pick. Last week's release pick was the first time all season that we didn't have closing line value. And if you ended up watching that video later in the week, closer to Saturday, it might have actually saved you. If you had grabbed a Florida Atlantic -3, they ended up winning by 3. So that would have been a push. If you watched at the time of the video, which is kind of obviously the idea behind doing a release video, you lost by half a point along with me and my clients. A little bit unfortunate, just to be honest. I mean, it's just the way the season has started. There's been a lot of that. I mean, stuff that ends up, where you're sitting in an advantageous position, maybe an 75, 80% chance to cash. You just need your team to close it out. A lot of those have kind of gone against us. I think FAU, it was 20-10 late in the game, and they allowed Tulsa to go down and score. That game got really messy. It's part of the reason I don't love playing games in that part of the country, because a rainstorm will just come in and just start raining cats and dogs. And obviously the variance kind of can pick up once the weather becomes a factor. So Tulsa scored late. FAU, I thought we were going to have a chance to get a backdoor cover there right at the end. They had Tulsa pinned down on their 1 yard line, on their own 1 yard line, and they had to go for it because it was like 4th and 15, and they allowed Tulsa to throw a long ball up the sideline and catch it. That they would have had the ball on the 1 with a chance to cover there, but it happens. So we'll keep it moving, and we'll move on to this week's game, which I really like. Let's go here. All right. Iowa and Wisconsin, Big Ten matchup. I've been saying for a couple of weeks now that I think Iowa is, I definitely think that they're the worst 5-1 team in college football. I think that they are potentially the most overrated team in college football. And so I've got my chance here to, put my money where my mouth is, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm looking to back Wisconsin here at the -9.5. A lot of -10s out there, but obviously I'm going to take the -9.5 if I can find it. So that's what I'm rolling with. Just to break this one down, Wisconsin comes into this one 4-1 on the season. That early loss on the road in Pullman against Wazoo, not looking nearly as bad. They lost against Washington State 22-31 on the road in a game in which they had 3 turnovers. So a lot of people forget that, the turnover bug has been a pretty serious problem for Wisconsin this year. Albeit they are 4-1, so it's not like it's completely derailed their season by any means. And I think this Wisconsin team is actually rounding into form as a team that could potentially cover some spreads for us down the stretch as we get to the middle of the season and down the home stretch. I think this is a great spot for Wisconsin. I love the matchup. They beat Rutgers last week 24-13 in a game which they had 2 more turnovers, and they still covered the spread and won that game by 11. They ran the ball for 4.8 yards a carry against a pretty stout Rutgers run D. So that's positive. They'll be facing an Iowa defense that is okay. This is not the Iowa defense of the last 2 or 3 seasons at all. They really got gutted. A lot of their talent has now moved on to other things in the NFL. This handicap is a lot about Iowa, though, because I'm going to be honest. So Iowa obviously loses McNamara, who was the quarterback to start the season. Deacon Hill has come in. He's thrown 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and he is averaging 4.8 yards per attempt, which is just pitiful, to be honest with you. I don't really see that getting any better. Iowa had a great matchup last week against Purdue because Purdue can't stop the run to save their lives. They beat Purdue 20-14. But again, I think this is a much tougher matchup. It's on the road. And I really think Iowa is due for a shellacking, because like I said, this team for me is one of, if not the most overrated team in the country right now. It's actually crazy to me that they're receiving top 25 votes. That's obviously just because they're Iowa. But look, last year, this time of the season when these two teams played each other, Iowa came away with the victory. These two teams were built very similarly last year. This year, not so much. Obviously, Luke Fickell is in now at Wisconsin, and the offense looks a lot different. Defense still pretty much intact. I think they had 8 guys back from their 2022 team on defense, so still solid defensively. And I just can't see Deacon Hill, doing much in this game offensively. I have a really hard time seeing Iowa having any success offensively, and so I could see it being a slog. But I personally see this one just getting away from Iowa because I think they won't be able to score hardly at all. And then, once you're up 14-0, 17-0, 17-3, second half, the wheels just kind of fall off the wagon. And I think Iowa is due for that to happen, just because I'm just not a believer in this team. The metrics, offensively, they're 132nd in the country. In EPA, that's the worst Power 5 team in the country offensively, and even defensively. Again, this was a unit that was top 10 in almost every category the last 2 seasons. They're very mediocre. They're pretty much middle of the pack. So I think Wisconsin scores. Iowa, all they really have is a little bit of defense. They don't have the same defense that they've had, but I don't see them keeping up here. I would have this closer to like a 13.5 personally. So I'm for sure going to be on this one. I've already sent it out and would not be surprised to see this line move. But yep, that's pretty much it. So if you want the full card, as always, that will be available on my website at thesportsprofit.com. And we'll see you next week.